Welcome back to the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series, European Premier League, live from Cologne in Germany. If you hadn't already worked it out, we've got a crazy crowd here. They've been fantastic all evening. I'm sure they're going to support the next two players. Before we get to that, though, let's check in with the bracket and show you exactly what's happened so far here in Group A of the Premier League. As you can see on your screen, one man is confirmed into the round of 8. It is the German. It's the hometown favourite. It's TLO, who is already through. They're going crazy behind me. It's fabulous. So, one is already through to the round of 8, but who joins him? That's the next question we have to find out. We know that one of them may be a Korean. It can't be both of them. We are about to find out who will play Strelok in that final decider match. It's time to turn you over to our commentary team of Apollo and Kalaris.
Thanks very much, Paul. All right, Apollo, it comes down to this for our Koreans.
It does.
I'm a little bit scared for MMA.
Well, some people say the ForGG get-in's coming, so I don't know if this is going to happen today or not. But MMA, I mean, we saw him earlier play a TVT against Mech.
Yeah.
He's playing Mech again, by the way. He's going to be playing Mech against ForGG. Do you think that he can do it this time? Is it going to be about this process, about picking the right maps? Because those maps, as you said, didn't help.
You're right, it might have to be here. ForGG vetoing first. So what is it going to be? Star Station to kick things off. Still a little reversed here. Now it's MMA's turn.
Yeah,
so,
I think it was reversed, but I knew it was reversed.
Yeah, but him taking out Star Station, once again, great for ForGG to go Mech.
Daybreak getting rid of from MMA. If that's true, that's really, really good.
Yeah.
I think that's the way it is. So even though it...
Yes, it's reversed right now.
Okay, so MMA gets rid of Daybreak. That's good.
That is good. That is good, because...
Like, we saw what it was like. Neoplanet S getting rid of for ForGG.
He's still getting rid of those maps that is big and able to, a lot of paths for the bio to start moving around, start doing some damage. Nuka Precinct, another map that's pretty good for mech, especially if you're able to cordon off your men with missile turrets.
Slightly improved, I'd say, out of those 3 maps. Daybreak being eliminated and having Willwood in the replacement of Daybreak is the only change. Is the only change from MMA versus Strelok. And I like that. It helps MMA a little bit. To win on Whirlwind is... Okay, let me just rephrase that. To lose on Whirlwind is not acceptable from MMA. If you lose on Whirlwind, then the Son of Boxer is no longer.
Yeah, the Son of Boxer versus the Pretender. And again, we mentioned it earlier on in the broadcast, guys, but I have to mention it here again. The ForGG in Terran versus Terran is a monster.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that like, oh yeah, this guy's really good, guys. I mean, statistically, in Heart of the Swarm, he has won 44 maps and lost 2. Ooh. Oh, even the crowd likes it. All right.
That's, well, even ForGG likes it. He's like, yeah, I heard that too.
You're damn right I have.
The thing is, 42 map wins to 2 map losses. I cannot stress how impressive that is. It's 44.
It's unprecedented in...
and the reason why he's winning so many games is he's playing mech, and we saw Strelok do well. It's not just play mech, though. Is that ForGG has... the aggression to add to the mech. So if you look at these maps they're going to be playing on, Akalon Waste map number 1 could be difficult for MMA. Map number 2, no matter what, is a must-win.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Belshir Vestige, things get difficult again.
And I actually have to come back to a point that you brought up once again before the cast, is that in Wings of Liberty, ForGG was one of... Actually, I'm just going to say, he was the most aggressive Terran versus Terran player in terms of going into any kind of tournament. When you would go up against him, he would play mech, and he would play very aggressive mech, super aggressive, even without Hellbats, even without the ability to medevac boost, without Widow Mines. So the transition that he has taken from his aggressive mech style in Wings to his aggressive mech style in Heart of the Swarm, he has transitioned better than any other Terran in this matchup right now.
MMA... could be in trouble.
Yeah, he could be. And how many people out there have said, oh yeah, MMA is going to take last?
I put first place. I actually, in my predictions for my thing I wrote up, I put first. And I'm shocked. And I'm shocked. But we'll see. I think a lot of people, MMA is a fantastic player, but I also think that a lot of people look at him as he was in the past.
Yes.
It's the future now. Well, it's the present, actually. It's the future soon. It's the future now.
So
it's the present now.
Oh, well, indeed. Spawning up to the top left-hand corner here, as our Red Terran, one of the Korean representatives in the round of 16. He goes by the name of ForGG. Some good support here for ForGG from our crowd. And spawning down to the bottom right, our Blue Terran. He's up against it statistically. He goes by the name of MMA.
So everyone knows MMA. We've talked a lot about him as a person today and his ups and downs, his roller coaster ride. You know, let's look at ForGG as a person. With his stats you've talked about, is there anything else you want to bring up between the both of them?
Well, MMA, in terms of win ratios across his entire career internationally in this matchup, it's around a 58% win ratio for him. And then ForGG in turn, it's around actually a 55% win ratio internationally. But again, going into Heart of the Swarm, those statistics are around a 93% win ratio, I want to say, in this matchup.
That's ridiculous.
That's
and
crazy.
even if you look at those stats, you have to keep in consideration that MMA, those stats were from playing in the top level of GSL compared to ForGG, who wasn't there at the same time. ForGG's path in StarCraft 2 it's been a very interesting one.
You're right.
He made the switch, I think it was in 2011 officially, in the end of 2011, and then he made it into Code S a couple of months later, and that was his official switch. So whether he'd been playing beforehand, you know, you argue when he played and started, it doesn't matter. But when his official switch was late December or November, he qualified for Code S, then dropped out immediately and decided not to stay in Korea to challenge the system of Code S and Code A, but came to Europe with Millennium for 2012, and he played well. Like, you look at ForGG, like, you know, he's just another Terran. What has he really done? He's actually played so well in a small time frame. MMA was a world champion before ForGG even moved into StarCraft 2. So if you look at the time frame, ForGG's only had, you know, half the same time, you know, MMA's had. And I think he's had a remarkable time in StarCraft 2. He's different goals compared to a player like MMA.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because just when ForGG transitioned into StarCraft 2 and when he did pretty well in his first season in GSL. He was the original elephant in the room. He was the original player to come along and really take up that mantle. Everyone assumed he was going to rocket to the top and then really take a wrecking ball to all of the StarCraft 2 players. But in the end, the path was much different for him.
Well, ForGG, back in 2008, actually won a 1v1 league in Brood War, including wins in the semi-finals versus Flash and in the finals versus Jaedong. Like, those two big guys at the end of Brood War, ForGG beat. So, obviously, you know, he came in with a lot of hype for sure. But looking at this game now, the builds, ForGG's opened up the same for a little bit later of a gas, into reactor, then then command center, then factory. He's going to be looking to get a starport down, probably Medivac, could jump out. He actually loves to jump out with Marine and Hellions to pressure you. MMA, on the other hand, not quite the same build. Reaper into expansion, then factory. So a little bit of a different, but similar.
Yeah, it's just that MMA here is going to get himself that command center up running a little bit quicker in terms of it positioned, and then with that ForGG should be able to establish himself as well. And whoa, MMA, that's a quick third command center here.
That's really, really early. And having it that early, you can't build a starport immediately. Like, as soon as the factory's done, and you don't start Hellion production immediately. So he's going over to tanks because it's more expensive for a single unit, but cheaper in the long run because you're not pumping out Hellions consistently, not spending minerals consistently. In this game, though, I'm pretty sure that we're going to have a Medivac as soon as that starport's done. ForGG, unlike Strelok, who both play mech, ForGG loves aggression. That's why he's got such a high success rate in this matchup, because he has the aggression, drops you early, drops you in the mid-game with Hellbats, kills you with a big timing of mech. And that's always been his playstyle here. So with the Medivac coming out, he's going to start to put pressure on. Is a tank and a handful of Marines gonna be enough to defend in potentially multiple locations here?
Yeah, that's a good question.
If it is, then great. MMA's got 3 command centers, didn't lose anything, but
if not, then there could be some losses here incurred by MMA. ForGG is already setting himself up a defensive posture in the form of exactly where he's positioning his supply depots, as well as his units at the very, very front here. He could actually poke in at the front with the Marines potentially, or vice versa, drop those if he wanted to. A little bit of a poke with that Reaper. He saw how many Hellions were there. That's very, very useful for him to kick things off.
So the style that we're coming out, it's a combo tactic. It's a drop in the main base, usually, and then all the tanks and marines come back to defend, and the Hellions roast everything on natural. This move killed MMA, and they actually played, like, a couple of weeks back, I think it was, in the Acer Team Story Cup. Acer versus Millennium. Millennium, of course, won with 4GG. Same move, exactly. I hope that MMA's expecting it again, because then he's going to be able to defend it. If not, here it comes.
Yeah, it's looking like could do a little bit of damage here. MMA is very, very much out of position. He's losing a lot of that income in terms of that. But there you go. Meanwhile, that second multi-pronged harassment here, trying to kill off some workers, positioning itself very, very nicely. And the siege tank really not pushing them away as quickly as I was expecting, to be honest with you.
No, it's quite a few SCVs killed. Marines are going down there. Hellions are roasting a tank out there. Hellions on the natural didn't get the best, though. He's still probably killed just under 10.
The Hellions just killed the siege tank. It's very rare that you would see that happen, but you're right. It's 8 worker kills here for 4GG to the 0 right now. So it's 33 workers to 34 in favor of 4GG. A little bit of a lead for himself, but behind this he still has 10 Hellions, and that's a big number.
It's definitely a success for 4GG. Killing 8 SCVs so early on is really, really good.
Yeah.
But MMA will catch up just as fast because of that third command center. So it is a success. He did do damage. It would have been a failure if he didn't get anything, but it hasn't put him incredibly far ahead because of that third command center. He does, as you say, have a small advantage. Behind it, though, third command center and additional factories. What we should see soon is a single armory come down to focus on just the attack upgrades as well. But 4GG is very much so in favor of delaying the armory to have more units out so he can also be aggressive and defensive at the same time.
4GG also third command center going down, as you rightly point out, and we have a few factories as well as that armory on the way. So perfectly done here by 4GG in terms of what he wants to do with his standard build that he would normally rely on.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, MMA just transitioning into exactly what he did against Straylock, but that's a lot of Hellions, man.
That's a lot of Hellions, so if any loose Marines are around, they're going to get toasted.
Yeah.
If any slip-ups of missed defense, then the SCVs will get toasted, so at the end of the day, someone's getting burnt.
Yeah.
I don't know who he's going to be, though. So.
And the barracks just spotted exactly where this army is. He could actually slip into the natural here. Is he going to go for it? It looks like he will do, knowing that his opponent's army is way out of position.
He doesn't want to risk it, though. Didn't want to risk it, because you don't know how many tanks and Marines are behind that line, right? So, as a player, in that position, you're like, if I go and lose everything, then I lose my map control and allow him to do whatever. If I go in and gamble, then sure. So it is a gamble movement. But 4GG didn't feel the need to do it. Here's his +1 attack on the way. The question is, MMA... Well, it's actually not really a question. It was going to be a question, but then it changed.
Right, okay.
Is MMA... And I will make it a question. Is MMA going to change? He has to change.
Yeah. He does.
Like, and I'm saying against Strelok, he needs a drop. Is that a medevac, please? Oh.
It's a Viking.
Okay, so he really needs to focus. I guess, you know, Stim and stuff isn't done yet, but I feel that he needs to pressure.
Yeah.
You can't just let a mech player do what they want. And
right.
he lost 2 games so easily.
And again, we during the map veto said that, you know, Akalon arguably is 4GG's place to actually take this first game. And MMA, he needs to make something happen here. And if he doesn't, Whirlwind's certainly a good ground for it as well. But he needs to take arguably risks, of course.
Yeah.
He needs to try and be as harassment engaged as possible here with this. 4GG killing off rocks with
One thing to note, though, look at those units. They're Hellions, not Hellbats. So it's a different style of mech we're seeing. It's very focused on Hellions here. They are a lot faster. They can be aggressive compared to Strelok, who plays very passive and very defensive. And they don't have that weakness of Hellbats when they get in there.
Yeah.
But tanks 3-shot Hellions, they 4-shot Hellbats. So the Hellions melt a lot faster here. So I'm interested to see, does he get the upgrade where he can turn the Hellions into Hellbats?
I think maybe eventually. But it's an interesting point you bring up.
But at the same time, because of their mobility and how fast they are, any retreating army from MMA dies. Just instantly dies here.
And he just saw that with the Marine poised on that rock there, so he knows exactly where his opponent's Hellbats are, and will actually set himself up quite nicely. But yeah, it's 4GG compensates for the fact that he doesn't have the extra tankiness from Hellbats by having the mobility. So,
and also 2 times as many Hellbats too. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it depends on which way you want to look at it. Do you want a smaller amount of Hellbats and slower ones, or do you have more Hellions and less tanks? It's, you know, for whatever case, ForGG's decided to go heavier with Hellions here.
And he's going to poke forwards here. Blue Flame going to cause quite a bit of damage here, especially he's going to just engage fully into these siege tanks. They get melted down, and the siege tanks behind, look how well even just Hellions actually tank this. ForGG, a monster in this matchup, pushes MMA back, and this is earlier than MMA got pushed back by Straylock.
I mean, I was looking at Twitter before, and a very famous Terran player of the name of Cass actually predicted 2-0 ForGG.
He's insane. It's such a strong army to go up against. But MMA doesn't really have that much army left over. He's trying to snipe out some of those siege tanks in the back, but the PDD goes down, saving some of those siege tanks as well. The defenses of MMA are ransacked. They are bulldozed. 36 army supply to 86 in favor of ForGG.
ForGG getting is here. Kalaris he is not letting go. This map is gone. We won't be seeing this again. And now it comes down to the fact that MMA won't be able to break this natural. But tanks are there, the point differential is there, Vikings are there. It's all about the next map. He has to win on Whirlwind or he's out. He's actually out.
There you go, GG. The time is nigh. ForGG Mageddon claims map number 1. Map number 2 is so important here for MMA.
We talked very much so about ForGG as he approached playing TLO, saying that this would be nice if he beat TLO, because then the next 2 games, depending on how things work out, most likely going to be Terran games.
Yes.
Where he's got this insane win record, he doesn't lose Terran versus Terran, and he lost against TLO, so he's still got this position where he's got his favorite matchup to play over and over. TLO's out of there now, it's just 3 Terrans.
Exactly, and this comes back to, actually, when we were doing the group drawings, I thought that, you know, ForGG would take second place.
Yeah.
Basically because he is just monster mode in this matchup. I felt that, you know, TLO was going to advance on and do very, very well, but then once it is only now Terrans, ForGG is here to dominate the apocalypse of that TVT that is in that man's mind is brutal.
It's going to be a difficult ride for MMA. Look at that. Just look at his games. 0-2 versus Strelok, and now he's 0-1 versus ForGG. This is 3 games in a row. He's lost 3 games in a row against Mech.
And he can't go out now. If he goes out, he is still in that place he's been for so many months. He needs to get back to the top. He for his name, for his legacy, for his reputation here. MMA, the son of Boxer, is on the verge of elimination in the round of 16.
In a non-heavy Korean tournament.
Yes. Wow. So, without further ado, guys, we have spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner in map number 2 of this best of 3. He goes by the name of ForGG. And spawning up to the top right, as our Blue Terran, currently 1 map away from ultimate elimination in the World Championship Series European Premier League. If he loses, he will go down to Challenger. Give it up for MMA.
Going down to Challenger League. MMA just going back in time of all the finals, MMA versus MVP, MMA versus DRG, MMA versus Nest, you know, just looking at all these games we've seen in the past, and now it's like MMA's lost 0-2 versus Strelok and is now losing 0-1 versus ForGG, about to go down into Challenger League. Like, that's not the story you'd expect from a player who was regarded as the #1 player in the world. The #1 StarCraft 2 player in the world throughout 2011, people regarded it as MMA. Like, he had that period of domination.
And the thing is that, I mean, it's weird how this group's played out. Because if, for example, MMA ended up, I don't know, let's speak hypothetically, met TLO in one of his matches, then I think that MMA would have had a little bit better a chance. I can't discredit TLO's TVT because it was TVZ because it was amazing. But MMA in that matchup thus far in HOTS has been much better. He's been 10-2. He's been taking games off people like Sortov, Hyun, Yu-Gi-Oh, DRG. So his strengths lie elsewhere in TVT, and going up against, let's just say, the best TVT in the world right now. ForGG, dealing with this is, well, I mean, maybe not innovation. Well, I have to say. But the point is that ForGG is just a monster in this matchup, and going up against it is almost impossible.
It really is, and unfortunately for MMA, he's the guy that has to defeat the odds. He has to. And we have a gas first from MMA. A very fast factory. He's going to open up aggressively here, whether it be a double gas build or not. It could be double gas, and it can be those 2 branches we talked about earlier when Strelok did this build, whether it be a Widow Mine and Marine drop, or a Hellbat drop. And with the second gas coming down, those are the 2 options presented here from MMA. There is the rare occasion where you can see Banshees come in, but it's not a big thing right now. Banshees aren't that common in Terran versus Terran. I'm not sure we'll see that. I don't expect to see it either. So it's either one of the 2. On the other hand, ForGG going command center first, it's actually not bad for the map.
You're right. I mean, if there's any map here that MMA is going to take off a player meching, it would be Whirlwind. Whirlwind is his best opportunity to, but ForGG, he's kind of accounting for that in the way he has opened up. Like you just said, the early command center at the low ground, it really plays out a little bit better for him. He sets up his defenses nicely, and this is going to give him a little bit of a nice position.
So there we have new tweets coming in. Make sure you can tweet to us if you want to with the hashtag WCS. Korean loses, question mark, don't think so. ForGG's play is awesome. He is awesome.
Yeah,
he is awesome, especially in Terran versus Terran. And if he improves his other matchups, he's already actually pretty good in Terran versus Pros, but if he improves his Terran versus Zerg, we could be having an interesting tournament if he moves on here.
He could.
Unfortunately for MMA, has 0 idea what's going on, because those 2 Marines could be the initial 2 before you get the reactor. Doesn't mean that there's a command center first down, so he's too much in the light here, unfortunately. So he's going to have to go into this blind and hope for damage, because if it doesn't come down with such a nearly double command center, I think everybody that knows and plays StarCraft is going to see that the economy lead is going to be in favor of
And I think this is what we like here from MMA. He's getting a bit more aggressive now. It's just barely not spotted that medevac, just on the cusp of actually being able to see that. And this is going to play out a little bit better here for MMA, I feel. Unless, of course, ForGG is watching all of his angles right now. I think he's concentrating a lot of his defenses on the natural. And interestingly, MMA has gone cloak. So that fabled long-lost Banshee from yesteryear is coming back.
Yeah, so a couple of 1-2 moves going to come in first with the Widowmine and Marines. Needs to get behind the mineral lines. Let's see if there's any scans available. I'm not sure. There shouldn't really be unless there's one's coming up soon. 25 energy.
Whoa. Oh, didn't really get too much.
No, didn't there. Just a single kill, and that's a nice little win for MMA, preventing mining from the main base. Cloak Banshee's going to be an interesting follow-up, but here comes the drop again.
Yep, I think one of those Widow Mines does still have the charge.
Yeah, it does, and that's probably the one there. Oh no, doesn't have the charge.
It doesn't have the charge, not that one. So, gonna drop it, and we'll force a scan out at some point, or at least
double scans, because there's 2. There's one in the natural, one in the main. So 2 scans taken away from these command centers. If he doesn't prepare, he actually could lose SCVs on that natural.
I think he just lost a few. He lost 4 during that. He's lost 9 in total thus far, though. So, going up to 12 now as well. This is really good harassment with those 2 Marines in the medevac.
I think he must have lost a couple in the main base too, because remember that main base Widowmine was still there?
Yeah.
It was cleaned up eventually by this Hellback by the looks of it, but that's a lot of SCVs gone. And there's a second wave of aggression coming out from MMA in the form of this Cloak Banshee. And back in MMA's prime time, when he was playing Terran vs. Terrans, his Banshees were the best Banshees.
They were.
He got so many SCVs killed. There's no scans.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't expect ForGG to save up scans, but for him, luckily, he's going to spot the Banshee. So then he can now, but still.
In theory, going for Widow Mines, forcing scans, and then following that up with Cloak Banshee is a phenomenal way to actually do it. You force those scans out early, and then you sit around and do this. And that is really, really hurtful, because he's lost 20 workers thus far. That's very impressive there by MMA.
All right, well, MMA's starting to step up his game here. Well, he has to. Like you said, he has to step up his game. He's just going to fall out. And he's got a lot of SCV kills. He's got the supplier lead. He's got his natural expansion about to go down as well. This is really, really good for MMA. This is much, much better form.
If he can't work on the SCVs, he's going to work on the Hellbats. He drops the scan in the end. That Viking does it. It's... Oh, okay.
ForGG managed to land his barracks on the natural there, but hold that thought. Hellbats.
They're going to cause a little bit of roasting here. Those SCVs will try and run away. That Viking's helping out quite considerably as well. Plenty of Marines to deal with that. Didn't lose anything. It's only 3 kills to 23. So ForGG, he's at 30. Well, he's at 25 workers right now to 30.
Every second that ticks by, though, unfortunately, if you're not mining on the natural, that's really bad for MMA.
Yeah.
That barrack, I can't believe the barracks is underneath the command center. I actually can't believe it's there, and it's been there for like a minute.
Yeah. That's quite a hit to the economy here. And also because the command center's been flying over it for so long, he hasn't been making SCVs from it either.
And there's another Hellbat drop inside the main base. 2 Hellbats come down.
To close the gap here. Will he be able to do so, though? That siege tank helping quite a lot in the end, especially with the supply depots really helped out in the terms of positioning. Perhaps not 100% intentional there by MMA, but it still worked out quite nicely. The aggression from MMA is not relenting, and I like that a lot, but he is going to get out of range of the scan.
And he does get out, so it's a bit of a sucky situation for ForGG. He's going to have to get another scan or get lucky with turrets.
He does have 2 scans.
Yeah, so you don't really want to have to use them,
right.
especially if that Banshee gets out. I don't think it is, but...
Yeah. Big on another CV for his troubles at the very end, or she did. Sorry, Todd, I need to refer to these units as their proper gender.
2 Hellbats again. Coming in. Let's see if he can get the damage done.
MMA's been reacting really nicely to it, though. His reaction times have been very, very strong. Is it going to get spotted by the supply depot? Just barely does on the edge there. So, and he's positioning his siege tank already. Very, very good play.
It's a nice pull there by the SUVs. Won't really do too much here. MMA maintains his supply lead. I actually has to research Stim and combat shields there. Vital upgrades to playing bio. Hasn't got them yet. And combat shields coming down. Okay, so combat shields coming down first. Third command center as well. So not bad, a much better game here from MMA. And as Combat Shields comes down, he could start to drop a little bit. I mean, I've said that in every single game he's played. He needs to start dropping a lot and starting to put the pressure on. But on such a big map, no matter what, this is MMA's map, remember. This is the map that he wanted to play on, that wasn't eliminated. It's nice, big, nice and open. So he must start to feel a little bit more confidence.
Might want to even, either make a second barracks or repair that one over on the other side somehow, because then he won't be able to make any factories, and that's kind of annoying. But as you said, it's MMA's map to win. And he's laid the foundations already.
Yeah.
Very, very nicely to carry himself on into the mid-game. That medevac's going to go down pretty quickly, but at the same time, the Hellbats certainly hold themselves quite nicely, but siege tanks clean that up. MMA still doing very good in terms of defense.
Yeah, and we got another tweet here coming in. At Liquid... Oh, wait, that's TLO.
Oh, that's TLO.
Hello, TLO. So much love. I am endlessly grateful for those who supported me when I didn't deliver. You gave me strength to carry on. Hashtag WCS.
Oh.
A message to the fans there from TLO.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right, MMA still moving across the map here. We have that drop once again on the way for ForGG. He actually it's getting to the point where he needs to do damage with these drops because they're just not being cost effective. He's lost way more than his opponent here, and this natural attack, considering his opponent's army is way out of position, does a bit more than has been before. 13 workers have gone down.
Yeah, and I don't think that what MMA is trading to do here is to get position anywhere. He can't. There's tanks. So sure, he can siege up and maybe kill some supply depots, but look at the production tab. Already 3 coming in.
Yeah.
Well, he's actually supply bot too. Okay, the 3 were coming in for the supply bot, but I thought he was already preemptively knowing that he'd lose a couple there. But yeah, I'd say this is nice for ForGG getting into that mineral line once again. And you can see the difference between ForGG and Strelok. There's drops everywhere all the time for ForGG, who's still playing mech like Strelok did.
Yeah, it's just a different brand of mech here, and he's well, to a certain degree, he's making it work. MMA is holding his own very, very nicely in game number 2 here, though. Really playing very nicely to the nuances of Whirlwind, and even these siege tanks. I mean, these supply depots, they are free at this point. Really good trade.
Yeah, he picks up a couple of supply depots. He's putting the pressure on, which is the most important part here playing against mech. He's got a scout there, checking if the 3rd's gone down above his army as well. He's got another scout in case, something comes over there. So he's actually in really good shape at the moment. Good double engineering base coming down. I think he may be missing his armory timing to go straight to 2-2 to keep his upgrades nice and fluid here.
Yeah.
Which may be a bit of a mistake if it's not down. If it's down, then all credit to him, but I don't think it is.
And behind this, MMA is, he contains his opponent slowly but surely, but then he claims his 3rd behind that to gain himself that little bit more of an economical lead here that he would like to go into that mid-game, especially once again on a big map that he can just throw himself all over completely and really take good engagements against an opponent that has to keep very kind of clumped and comprised, unless, of course, he wants to go for a little bit more Hellbat aggression, which he is doing.
So the balance that MMA is trying to handle here is how aggressive do I be to how defensive do I be? Right now, he will want to pressure the inevitably taken 3rd base, which will be coming down in seconds for ForGG. He's also got a drop set up for the first time out of all his Terran vs. Terran games, but we do have another drop coming in for ForGG down the bottom right. Luckily for MMA, he does have 2 Vikings on the natural here. So, depending on where they are and where they go, and a turret maybe as well on the natural, which I think there is, he's going to stop that one nice and easy.
Yeah, it's actually, if 4GG isn't keeping a good eye on this medevac, he could lose it before it does anything. He needs to boost out of here or boost towards it so he can drop him down, but no, goodbye.
Yeah, that's nice preemptive position in there from MMA to deal with that, expecting something like that from 4GG, who's been relentless so far with these drops. And we actually have a drop from MMA inside the main base, I think. Those Marines we saw earlier passing by have gotten into the supply depot line. And also, I want to say that this movement could be great from MMA, moving towards the third base, but 4GG already there. And if 4GG wasn't there and sent back more than he needed to deal with that attack, MMA could have had position on the third, and that would have been almost game-winning. Yeah,
that would have been fantastic here, but 4GG has a lot to tank at this location. The Bio has to stim back, though, and kite those Hellbats. That's the one weakness here of those Hellbats. So 4GG, it's not quite playing it out as Straylock would do, which was phenomenal with the medevacs being picked up, but MMA being pushed back for now.
I think in MMA's prime time, we probably would have seen a drop on the natural, another drop in the main, and then pressure on the third again. You know, that's how we used to be, but we don't quite see that level so far. We're not seeing the multiple drops, a single drop there, an army movement up here. It's not quite as fast as it always used to be, but we do have double drops now coming in, and he is starting to exploit the fact there. Do I see a lot of turrets from 4GG? No.
Nope.
And if 4GG's saying, well, he didn't drop a single time against Strelok, he didn't drop against me once, then maybe I don't need turrets. He's got a couple of Vikings in the best position possible to deal with those two medevacs. But I don't think that MMA would send them in blindly. You usually have to be a distraction first before you'd send something like that.
And 2-2 on the way now for MMA. But 4GG, MMA already determined that there was some nice juicy little pickings to take out from the bottom of 4GG's main. There was even a supply depot that actually has supply drop it on there. So if you can pick that off, that's pretty impressive. He may have already done so. If we just move over to the left, well, there's a lot more supply drops there now. 4GG making sure he doesn't get supply blocked at all.
Yeah, he's not playing the best and cleanest game he's ever had here, is he? He's getting supply blocked a lot. He's being moved about a lot by MMA, who's playing a much, much better Terran versus Terran. He's got a fourth and a fifth base coming down at the same time. MMA is just upping his game. Yes, he was late with his 2-2 upgrades, which will hurt him in this game because he should have had 2-2 done by the 20-minute mark. Of course he should have. And especially considering the circumstances here. But overall, taking expansions all over the place. And now he's taking expansions. He should increase his production account as well. This is good from MMA. It's much, much better.
Yeah, it is. It's going well for him. And even knows that drop's on the way, so we'll deny that once again. 4GG is just not making these drops work. He has to somehow, some way. Or he could just try and max out once again and try and roll across the other side of the map. But once MMA maxes out very, very soon, it's going to get to the point where he's like, well, I'm going to have a great bank behind this. I have 5 bases almost established. And that bank rising allows MMA to be far more tradey with his army.
MMA sending those 2 medivacs in. They actually will get one shot from 6 Vikings here, so...
Well, goodbye.
Big losses there from MMA, and you can see on screen there, I think he twitched a little bit. A bit of an annoyance losing those 2 medivacs. Should have waited a little bit longer, been a bit more patient.
And that gives 4GG the supply advantage now. He's actually moving out. His army is pretty darn huge, but those siege tanks get a very, very good trade to kick things off here. A few Hellbats up at the top left get completely picked off by that Bioforce. And does he retain enough Hellbats to tank against the Bio, which is actually sitting around to the other left-hand side of the corner, but, you know...
He had 2 decisions. He could have come in from the left flank, or he goes for the counterattack. He chose the counterattack here, and this is really smart because that's going to pull the forces back anyway. So he kind of deals with 2 problems in one. He's going to go and harass and slow down his opponent, and he brings it back at the same time. So a nice move there by MMA.
Same time, the supplies in terms of the armies being kept very, very even here as well. So even though MMA is trading a lot of his army here and actually moving in on the infrastructure, killing off reactors would be fantastic at this point. But still, he's making a good army back at home. And the resources lost, pretty similar right now. 4GG losing a little bit more than MMA.
Yeah, I mean, right now the income tab should be starting to heavily swing in favor of MMA. As you can see, 5 bases now compared to just 3. Not even a 4th command center down. So we're going to see a big push from 4GG, realizing that he actually saw these planetary fortresses, if you remember earlier when he's dropping 2 Hellbats. So he knows the position he's in. He's going to force everything out with a +3 attack that's near completion. He's going to go for this big one attack to try and kill MMA. The question is going to come down, does MMA have enough? He's got a lot of Banshees and Vikings. We saw the starports being added on earlier.
Those Banshees are so important here. If the Vikings for MMA are able to win out this war, then those Banshees are going to have their entire way with the ground army, and they do.
It's enough. He's going to push this back. That +3 timing would have been good if there weren't air units.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing there. The Banshees are coming in, the Fusion Core's down as well. MMA's used his money wisely to switch over to air at the right time. He's got units somehow making their way to the natural. He's got units looking for the 4th base as well, which isn't there. MMA's... He's doing it.
Yeah, he is. He's actually just stimming up once again here. If he could take out anything in that main base, that would be fantastic. But transitioning into these Banshees and having Cloak available from the very beginning, he's even making a battle cruiser behind this. Why the hell not? Because, hell, he is so far ahead of this opponent.
Yeah.
175 supply to 125. ForGG trying to get Thors out, trying to scramble for that air defense against an opponent that had plenty of Vikings to begin with. These battle cruisers.
Yeah, MMA's just bringing the form back that we would have expected him to start the day with here. All the players, have been in the office, in the ESL office, since about lunchtime, 12 to 1 o'clock p.m. They've been practicing all afternoon, and then come game time, MMA didn't bring what he should have brought. But now in this game, this is something we'd expect from a former GSL champion, from a former world #1. He's got massively in supply. He's got battle cruisers, Banshees, Vikings. Nothing can be answered by ForGG, which inevitably is going to have to drop out of this game. MMA is going to be able to push him to the 3rd map.
He is, and that means we're going to go to the last map that might be in ForGG's favor. We'll have to see the battle cruisers come along and show themselves and say, "Hi Thors, bye Thors." They'll try and run away as quickly as they can do, even changing into that high armor impact shots, but that is not going to be enough. The air is controlled by MMA. 100 supply up in his opponent right now. Even the ground is going to actually push ForGG back as well.
So if you look at MMA's play from the beginning of this game to the end, aggression from the get-go, drops, everything you need to bring down a meching player, getting an advantage, using your money and advantage to something as air, where he can't deal with it. That was the game we all expected to see from MMA.
Yeah, and that means that MMA takes the 3rd TVT loss off of ForGG during.
So, including today,
yes,
what stats does that give ForGG now?
That gives him 45-3.
Still good.
Yeah.
But that's another loss.
That's another loss.
That's another loss. And MMA, as you said, needs to define odds today. Has to. And that's the start of one more map to go. Still a long way. Belshir Vestige.
But even if MMA is able to take out ForGG here, by some, against all statistics, he still has Strelog to go up against again.
Imagine, I probably don't think MMA is thinking that far ahead. No. And he'll probably be like, yes, 2-1 victory. And then be like, oh no, Strelog.
Oh god.
Not again. So yeah, we'll see how that's going to shape up. But Terran vs Terran is going to be the theme for the rest of the evening here, of course, with only Terran players left as Kilo makes his way through to the round of 8. But we're jumping straight into this last map. This is it. This is the map to decide who advances on to play Strelog and who goes down and leaves the Premier League.
Yeah. Which of our Koreans is going out right now? We shall find out as we have ForGG and MMA playing against one another here on Belshir Vestige.
Yeah, it looks like the Observer PC just crashed there, so we'll have to take a second, remake it, and get it down. But this is very intense. Going on to Belshir Vestige, this is going to be very difficult for MMA. It's again a smaller map, a more constrict map. But it looks like you're going to be the Observer, Kalaris. You're going to step in, be the man. We're going to let these guys play on without having to remake once the countdown's gone. We're going to check out your casting ability. I'll
try.
Observing abilities. You did do all around of 32.
Yeah, I missed maybe 1 or 2 things, but in the end, kind of difficult to cast and observe at the same time, but I'll lock it down. I've done it for years and years and years, so should be okay.
Let's we'll get into this game in a second. As you can see, both players just waiting for this, and then we'll be getting in. We'll see if ForGG's aggression. It's interesting because both players have very similar styles, but different ways to pull off the strategies. Mech versus Bio, but they both like aggression versus aggression.
Yeah.
And it looks like we all have to remake the game anyway here.
All right, so apparently I'm not observing.
Maybe you're not observing.
Yeah.
Never mind.
False alarm, guys. False alarm, you don't want me observing in the end.
So as you can see, here are the social medias. You can hashtag on Twitter, WCS, follow at StarCraft, follow at ESL TV. And if you want to go over to Facebook as well, maybe you're a Facebook nerd, not a Twitter nerd.
Yes.
And you can slash StarCraft slash ESL TV.
And you should tweet us as well with hashtag WCS, guys. We want to know your predictions. I'm at Kyalaris, and we have Mr. at Apollo SC2. That's right? Because you changed it from Apollo 1337 quite a while ago. And then
Apollo SC2.
All right, Apollo SC2. So tweet us, who do you think is going to take this series? And then who, from that point on, will take on Mr. Strelog?
Remember, it's just one map that MMA's won. It's, one map of many, because 4GG's won so many games that probably a brush of shoulder for him. You know, all right, fine, you got the third map I've lost in Heart of the Swarm.
He still knows he's the
Big
TVT
deal, I've
king.
still won 45 maps, including a couple versus him. As mentioned earlier, they played in the AC Team Story Cup too.
Yeah, they did. And, I mean, to that point that you actually bring up there, some of the other players that Hero, what am I on about? Some of the other players that 4GG has actually taken it out in TVT are people like Tasia and almost every single European Terran that plays at the very, very tip-top level. So these are not just against like weekly cup players or something like that. These are against very, very high-level Terrans that 4GG has a commanding position over. And on Belshir Vestige, this is another map where he can reign supreme if he wants to.
All right, well, thank you for bearing with us. It looks like we are ready to jump into map number 3 now between MMA and 4GG to decide who moves on to play Strelok. And unfortunately for one of these guys, they're going home.
They are. One of our Koreans falling down into Challenger Division.
Oh,
and there you go. Our crowd goes wild as we have our second. MMA's not happy.
Look how cool he's like hand and then points at the screen.
Yeah, something wrong, guys.
Yeah, he didn't actually win that game. Yeah, guys.
There's something on my screen.
Yeah.
Point at it again. Make sure that people know. All right, so we'll get this sorted out in just a second.
Does this count as a win?
Yeah,
like,
is that me now?
Mr. Admin, did I win 2-1?
Sean's like, no,
look, you can see I was winning.
Yeah, I had an extra SCV and everything.
Yeah, so we'll have to fix this problem and get these games rolling in a second here. But MMA faces a tough challenge, and you know we talked about that he does have this map to beat 4GG, but if he does beat 4GG, as we see there, he has to beat Strelok, a guy that he lost 0-2 just, you know, about an hour ago.
The thing is, though, in MMA's defense, if he then takes, let's speak hypothetically. If he advances over 4GG, and then if he goes into that series against Strelok and adapts himself and utilizes a similar playstyle to what we saw in game number 2 there, then I think he would have a much better chance against Strelok, who was. We said it time and time. He had to get aggressive. He had to do something to keep Strelok back.
Look at these two experts when it comes to their little. I don't know. I'm not too sure what to call it.
It's a mouse bungee.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, you mean the distance between?
The thing that holds the mouse cords. Right. As you can see, both of them actually have it. A lot of players have it. Koreans almost always.
Yeah.
Is that it basically just frees up the cord, that it doesn't catch on anything, whether it be the keyboard, it doesn't get stuck on anything. You just have a clean movement always. You can see there, both of these players have identical on the other side. It's something that's always been in StarCraft. It comes from Brood War originally, and almost all of the Koreans actually play with not as many Europeans. I'd be interested to actually look at whether Strelok has one. I can't remember, but I don't think he would have.
And it's important. I'm not going to be like plugging mouse bungees here or whatever, but I use one myself, and
you do?
Yeah, and they are really, really useful. It gives you that peace of mind to know that nothing is going to get randomly caught.
Yeah.
So you know 100% that the mouse is fully in your control here, and if you don't have a mouse bungee, I certainly recommend one.
All right. Well, if you want to be a pro, it's one way to do it.
Mouse bungee.
Get a mouse bungee. All right. So it looks like both of these players now are in the game. We don't have any problems. Map 3.
Third time lucky.
Shall begin. Map 3, third time.
Yeah. All right. Spawning up to the top left as our red Terran. Currently 1-1 after Whirlwind was able to take him by storm. Let's give it up, guys, for 4GG. And spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner here as our blue Terran, tying up the series. He is Acer MMA.
All right, MMA has to pull up this victory. Can he pull it back from behind? You know, you start the series 0-1. It is difficult to win the next 2 games in a row. 4GG have had that comfort zone. And in the future, we'll have to look at stats, you know. Do players come from behind very often? 4GG is a player that, you know, just kind of wins out straight. He's actually a player that doesn't come from behind very often. He either wins game 1 and continues to win, or he doesn't win. So I'm expecting 4GG to come into this very strong. I don't expect any early command center builds. We actually see from MMA a gas first again. Maybe looking towards identical opening, saying, well, that was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it was. Well, the thing is that 4GG, he does have a practice partner in the form of Millennium's Daishi.
Yes.
And Daishi, I have this feeling in the back of my mind that he has gone for Banshees in the past in TVT. So that's something that ForGG should be able to anticipate against MMA. It did fantastically in game number 2. So will MMA go for it again?
15 gas here from ForGG, and that is, again, lining up towards getting the reactor and command center factory down.
Yeah.
And we'll probably just go for the Medivac again. Just that's such a good opening for ForGG that he's able to do damage. It actually helped him a lot in game number 1. Didn't decide to do it in game number 2 because of the different opening. But when these two builds react with each other, it is really interesting because they're both going to be aggressive. And it really comes down to, in my opinion, I think MMA has the better setup. Because look at the difference what they're going for. It's going to be Marines and Hellions from ForGG most likely.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be Widow Mines and Marines from MMA. With one command center, it's really difficult to deal with these Widow Mines. They're gonna do damage for over a longer period of time, but both players are gonna have the same problem, is where they throw all their resources into aggression, and they may not have enough defense for both of them. Like, how can you defend when you're being aggressive? It's a difficult task to come into.
And that's TVT in a nutshell here in Heart of the Swarm.
But that's a tech lab on the barracks from MMA.
Is he gonna switch it up and go for?
Yeah, he should be switching it up. And if he's switching it up here, with a second gas being taken, a starport should... Yes, the starport should follow. And then I'm not... Did you say that MMA opens up Banshees, or was it ForGG you said earlier?
Well, of course, in game 2 we had MMA actually going for the Banshee. So it is MMA that's more accustomed to that in terms of... ForGG, I rarely see a Banshee out of him, to be honest with you.
Okay. So ForGG, MMA is going for this Banshee play, and it will be with Cloak too, because they're taking the second gas. Did a lot of damage previously. Now if we look at what ForGG, how these two builds react to each other, if we expect ForGG to go for that starport and Medivac, which he should do here, as he's got his 2 Marines coming out. What happens if the Medivac's across the other side of the map, the Marines are on the other side of the map, there isn't a Viking in production, there's no turrets, and there's no scans available? How do you deal with that? I think this could be a nice move from MMA.
Yeah, it could be catastrophic here for ForGG. It entirely depends on what he's actually going to spot here. But at the same time, even when you get that Banshee out, then you have access to a Viking straight away, which is going to help him considerably against ForGG if he wants to go for that Medivac. Really puts a timer and a complete dampener on what ForGG would be wanting to do here. So
a lot of Terran players, as this second command center finishes, they scan. Because it actually lets you know if they're going for Banshee or not. But because of the lack of people that go for Banshees, people don't scan anymore. So it depends if he's greedy or not. Because if he uses another Mule, then he will not see this coming at ever. If he scans, he'll have a slight heads up and maybe able to get a Viking out in time. But he calls the Mule and lifts.
And the second Banshee is going to be following this up as well as Widow Mine as Marine. So setting himself up defensively back at home. And with the second Banshee on the way, that's really going to put so much more annoyance up at ForGG's main. Because there's going to be double-pronged harassment. It's going to be really irritating to deal with.
This is massive from a main. There's no energy. There's nothing. He's got nothing to detect. Cloak is going to be done very, very soon here. There's no SCVs to actually kill the natural. He needs to start reacting, saving, building a Viking. He's got one coming. He does have enough gas to go for a Raven 2 behind this.
Exactly.
But if MMA can land the damage before that, get in there with Cloak. There's no energy.
Cloak's about to finish up in just a second. There we go. So he cloaks straight on up. He's actually going to work on a few Marines here.
He's faking. He's got a scan, and MMA's like, I don't believe you, and just stays there because he goes under, showing that, I'm going to scan, and then the scan doesn't come, so MMA calls the bluff.
And the funny thing is now is that losing that many units this early on,
is big.
MMA could easily follow this up with a little bit of aggression once again. He goes into the natural.
Scan.
He hardly has any anti-air.
I guess he could have pulled the Banshee back, but in this occasion, just doing as much damage as possible. One scan down, second scan not available. Another Banshee's in there. Raven's coming out, but not ready in time. It depends on how many SCVs can go down.
There goes the scan once again. He will be able to get out of range of it, even whilst getting a little bit of damage done to those SCVs. Needs to move away, though. That Tech Lab on that starport spells that Raven is going to be out. And 14 workers have been killed thus far. And a lot of Marines as well.
That's really, really big here for MMA. The former King MMA is back on track, apparently, here. Hashtag WCS once again, as the Banshee does escape.
Resources lost, though, is scary here. It's 1,100 to 300.
Yeah, that's a lot. And considering what he's killed is the SCVs and Marines, that's only 50 a pop. So adding and tallying up to like 700 resources by 50 a time, that's a lot. And another Banshee's in there. MMA is bringing the fire, bringing the heat, bringing the aggression over to ForGG. He's set up defensively back at home. He's got tanks and Marines in case these Hellions try to run across the map and do something. We are seeing Cloak come out of ForGG himself. I'm not too sure how successful that'll be because MMA is playing Bio. He will want to get Engineering Base down.
Yeah. I think off the back of all of that, the one saving grace that ForGG has is the fact that he has so many Hellions, and even though MMA killed off a lot of his opponent's Marine count, the Hellions are enough to say, well, you can't push across with all of your Marines, because they would end up frying them up quite quickly.
At this stage of the game, though, when both players are only, like, exclude the time for a minute, the time doesn't matter. If you look at the stage of the game where they're just taking your natural, imagine just taking the natural if you're playing the game, and then look at the income tab. It's 500-600 resources difference, and you just you're both identically just taking the second base. That is so incredibly big. Every minute that goes by, another command center available, extra barracks available, more upgrades available. MMA is in such a good position because of this.
He may end up losing this Banshee though, and there he goes. So with that though, it's not as huge a loss as one would consider it to be, but it's certainly a bit of an annoyance for him. Having those Banshees available later on to do some harassment or even just couple into your army, as we would have seen from MMA in game number 2, is very, very nice, and he spread himself so well here. So any kind of drop aggression that ForGG would want to go for is already shut down by the Marine and Siege Tank placement.
And the turrets, look at the turrets.
Oh wow.
Look at the turrets in there. ForGG's like, it's
investment.
time to return the
Yeah.
Oh no. I just spent money. I'm already behind. I just spent another 200 gas on Cloak. These Hinds aren't going to do much here. They went through between the tanks.
Those Marines positioned themselves perfectly for those Hellions to actually do the damage here. Siege Tanks are going to fall as well. There's another Siege Tank very, very low. It would be actually advantageous for him to try and get that, but still all of these units piling out for MMA from the main, doing pretty well here. Drops the scan, does not get the Banshee in the end.
Yeah.
Hellions get cleaned up.
I was really expecting MMA to pull his Marines left and right, pull them apart in the line that you don't want to... I mean, the line you want to be in when Hellions are there, but he went straight through the tanks. They got the best damage done, those Hellions. But looks like MMA is starting to stabilize from this aggression.
Has to control this well here.
Yeah.
Marine's going to end up dying. Thanks to the combat shield, so they do take 3 shots now as opposed to 2. Does the Banshee fall? No, it doesn't. Forces out scan. Nice choice. Whoa. Oh, okay. He knows the Winter Mine's there.
And he does at least get a Winter Mine through the scan, I suppose. Is salvaged a little bit there, that scan. But still behind this, MMA maintains a lead. Yes, ForGG did damage to slow and, you know, bring down that advantage because MMA had quite a big one, but now it's not there as much anymore because of losing those Marines. You know, taking a few SCV hits here and there too, but still maintains the supply lead. Third base faster as well, upgrades faster too. Interested to see this play. We got Hellion Banshee play, which is incredibly strong when there's no Vikings of MMAs. Because if you think about it, Hellions kill Marines, Banshees kill tanks. So you actually need Vikings to overpower this. And that's something that's missing a little bit, unfortunately.
The interesting thing is that it's 39 workers to 53 at this point, still in favor of MMA. So if he's able to get his third base up and running, that is, very, very big indeed. This Banshee trying to hide in the corner. But Vikings and Raven say goodbye, Banshee.
All right, well, it will go down eventually. A sour way to die. That Widowmine's got a couple of kills there. It's been quite annoying through this game. So it does finally fall down here. But so far, very interesting unit composition from ForGG. 2 bases, only down at 41 SCV, stopped SCV production. I hope he doesn't just go for this, because I feel that MMA can defend it. It comes down to the Marine spread, because right now, ForGG, with stopping SCV production and not building the third command center, not building tanks or armories, the longer this game goes on, if we think past this initial attack, the better it is for MMA. He needs to siege up, he needs scans, he needs turrets, he needs to spread his Marines.
That's a lot of
Stim is not ready, though. Remember that. Look at that. Stim is not ready.
22 Hellions right now, trying to push up into this location. They get a lot of damage done, not only to the siege tanks, but also to the bio. Will they fall in time for him to push him back? The answer is yes for now. Tries to push it on back once again. PDD helping out a lot, though, against those Marauders. There's not much damage they can do. And at the same time, MMA trying to go for a drop in the main base here. The Banshees start to work on all of this composition. This army for ForGG is actually doing really well, but he has nothing to defend at home.
As mentioned, without Vikings and identifying what's really going on here, the Banshee production being consistent, this is very awkward for MMA to deal with. He is dropping at the same time and dealing damage. He needs to get Vikings and Marines out to defend this.
Yeah, he has hardly any anti-air whatsoever. He has 10 Marines, but anytime they come out, they get one shot by the Banshees. They're going to get taken out by Blue Flame Hellions. ForGG has set himself up a really nice position in the front of his opponent's natural, but still back at home, MMA is doing a lot of damage to his opponent's economy, but ForGG just has so many good
dropping in supply because of this attack here. The point defense drone has gone down. Vikings are getting into the Vikings, but why is he targeting Banshees? I feel that he should be targeting the Vikings to get rid of him. Once the Vikings are gone, there's no anti-air whatsoever. Right. And the Vikings, it was 2-on-2 Vikings. ForGGs were lower in health. MMA should have won that micro battle, but he was targeting Banshees when he shouldn't have been, and this is difficult.
He slowly but surely worked his way into his production facilities. These Marines are not going to survive for much longer. There's too much damage here for MMA to actually put up against. All his medevacs trying to come back across the map here, being chased away by Banshee and Hellions, but still, ForGG just reinforcing here at this location. MMA can't do anything. Everything that comes out of that production facility dies instantly.
MMA may be eliminated from WCS Premier League here, the European Premier League, as he has nothing, as you say.
This is just, ForGG now with a very interesting unit composition here in the form of Blue Flame Hellions, Banshees, and Ravens. Just countering MMA very nicely, despite MMA gaining himself a lead early on. The Banshees have done all the work they needed to do. There's too many Hellions, 96 supplied to 40. MMA, GG. And the ForGG Mageddon continues on, Apollo.
He's able to knock out MMA. MMA not able to prove himself here today. ForGG moves on to play against Strelok in our last match of the day.
And that shows just how strong ForGG can be in TVT. But at the same time, it now means that the son of Boxer, one of the strongest StarCraft 2 players, arguably, of all time, has been eliminated here in the round of 16. Yeah,
it's a massive loss for MMA. It's going to be a big hit to him. He's going to have to, think what's next for MMA. Where does he go? Does he just play in? Well, he has to play from Challenger League to rebuild himself here at WCS. But ForGG is the guy that moves on today and is able to claim onto his Terran versus Terran record to carry him through. And he's moving on for Stroll. But you can see how, destroyed MMA is because of this. Like, he must be devastated inside.
Yeah, that was a tough loss. He tried to bring himself back. Whirlwind was a good map for him. Yeah. And then Belshir Vestige, the opening was fantastic. But in the end, ForGG.
Yeah, you can see he's really sad about that loss. Just staring into that screen, Kosh. It's not a good day for him, for sure. Definitely. I mean, if you look at his overall record, he's won one game through a couple of series. And the crowd are chanting MMA in the background as well. It's ForGG's the winner.
ForGG is indeed the winner. So now we will have ForGG versus Strelok in a TVT.
Yes.
That is going to be
Mech.
Good. Wow.
Mech versus Mech. Very similar styles, but the aggression does go over to ForGG. Yeah. Is he able to crack the armor and so on? It's going to be a good series for sure.
We shall see. And I believe that we are now going to send it over to an interview with Paul and our winner.
Thanks very much, guys. I'm with ForGG after that epic last game. And let's find out exactly what his thoughts are from that game. First of all, well done, congratulations. You are through to the final deciding match against Strelok. We'll talk about that in a moment. But how does it feel to you to have to play against a fellow Korean and remove that Korean from the tournament?
참 안타깝고요. 한국 선수를 떨어뜨려서 좀 안타까운데 개인 토너먼트라 좀 제가 그래도 마지막 스트렐록 선수를 이겨서 꼭 진출하도록 하겠습니다.
I feel very sorry for MMA because he won against him, but I will try to win Strelok and go to the next round.
Okay. You face Strelok in the next match. It's going to be a tough game. You've already seen that he has great TVT skills already, but you've had a fantastic record as well. How do you approach this next game against Strelok?
다음 게임에서 스트렐록 선수가 상대를 하는데 지금 좀 테란 대 테란전 성적이 엄청 좋은데 상대에서 어떻게 생각하세요?
일단 방심만 안 하면 이길 거라고 생각하고 어떤 선수 테란 선수이든 모든 테란 선수들은 이길 자신이 있어요.
I think if I don't make any mistakes, I can win against any Terran. So I'm looking forward to it.
Very confident. Okay, one last question. This match is a huge match for you. It's a huge match for Strelok. If you lose, that's it. You're out of the World Championship Series, European Premier League. So from your point of view, that would be a massive failure, obviously. But if you can get through, just how far do you think you can go through the tournament?
다음 경기에 엄청 많은 게 달려 있는데 만약에 다음 경기를 이기고 다음 라운드에 진출하면 어디까지 갈 수 있을 것 같은지.
일단 다음 거는 생각 안 하고 일단 지금 바로 코앞이 지금 급하기 때문에 지금 일단 스트렐록 선수 경기 준비만 생각하고 있어요.
I didn't really think about what comes next. I just want to win against Strelok next match, and then I will see.
Okay, well, thank you very much. ForGG is the winner of the losers game. He now goes through to the deciding game to play Ukraine's Navi Strelok. That's the next game we'll see this evening. But now it's over to Apollo to break it all down.
Hello guys, once again here for some expert analysis. That's not me! Come take my microphone. Yeah. Kalash has been doing an excellent job today as well. Who are you? What are you doing? Why? Why are you here?
Push him.
Easy game?
TBT is not easy.
No? Why 4GG so good?
I think Banshee is really imba.
Imba, Banshee Imba?
Yeah.
What could MMA done to be better?
He need a lot of Marines with Steam Pack.
Marines and Stim Pack.
Yeah. He didn't.
You better you're gonna win your group?
What?
You're gonna win
Hey.
when you play Challenger League? You're gonna make this look easy?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah?
Maybe I'm not Terran.
Could you? Are you better Terran?
Huh?
Your Terran is good though, right?
Yeah, right, but...
I seen you play Terran at IEM.
Yeah, I
good.
love you.
You want me? You beat me. Yes,
Yeah.
you did beat me. Okay, so
Yeah.
expert analysis has kind of been taken over. Thank you, MC. Took over my job. This guy was just killing me, guys. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Red Eye and see what he's got up his sleeve.
Okay, I don't know what to say after that. I mean, how often do you get MC in the house trolling Apollo live on stream? We are going to check in with our community man, the man that gets paid to read Reddit, and find out, are they going mad after that? Is everyone happy to see MC?
Everyone's calling him the best troll ever. I mean, MC is the one person that everyone, like right now, everyone's forgetting everything that happened before and is just cheering for MC.
It was probably the craziest analysis I've seen from Apollo in a long time. He looked completely off his game, which is really tough to do. You have to trust me on this. He's not a man put off his game very easy, but MC's a bit of a boss, isn't he? So, right, what else have we got going on in the world of social media?
Well, it's been kind of the community's been kind of sad that MMA hasn't made it because there's lots and lots of MMA fans out there. That's pretty obvious. and people have actually been sending out their condolences to other MMA fans.
So they're sticking together.
Yes, they are.
Well, he needs a bit of a bump to get back into this. We've also got a competition to win a signed photograph signed by all 4 of Group A's players, a signed photograph for the winner of the social media competition. So what do people have to do to enter?
I would just like you guys to tweet at hashtag WCS what your favorite moment of the tournament was today. So whatever it was, if it was the APM cameras, the casters, Red Eye, maybe even me.
Maybe you, maybe Hubner. Maybe Hubner's the reason that you tuned in. As unlikely as that might sound. I'm sorry to be mean, but I don't think it's going to be Harry Potter's brother that gets the plaudits here. Anyway, Hubner, so what you need to do is tweet at us your favourite moment of Group A today. As he said, it could be all sorts of things. It could be the Hubner, it could be the casters, but I'm hoping that you found something in the games that really made you think, that's awesome. And if you did, tweet at us. The best tweet using the hashtag #WCS will win the prize, which is a signed photograph of all 4 players from Group A. Thank you very much, Hubner. We will be back very shortly with the final game of the evening. I also want to mention the fact that you shouldn't go anywhere, by the way, because around about 10 minutes after the show finishes tonight, we will have WCS Extra, a light-hearted look back at Group A. It will include all of the crowd that are here right now, and you can bet your dollar they're going to be loud. We'll be back right after this.